Hi there, so welcome back to another video. Today we're actually going to be meeting Maggie, who lives in a place called Genzano, on the other side of the lake we saw in another video where we met Tony and Barbara. She's a really young American girl and we're going to hear her story. So see you when we get there. Where are we going?
To the only park in Genzano, and then it's right below the piazza, the only piazza in Genzano, really. And I call it Piazza di Nonni, and you'll see why when we get there. Ah, yes. Yeah.
I just wanted to hear from you, a bit about your story. Why are you in Genzano?
Yeah, so I'm in Genzano because of a man, as we all are, and he's a Gensanese, so that means he is from Genzano, very proud. He's not from Rome, but I met him in Rome. He was a bouncer, and it was New Year's Eve, 2015, and it was my first time in Rome, my first time stepping foot in Italy, and it was very early. It was like 9:30 p.m. on Capodanno, on New Year's Eve, so none of the Italians were out yet, and I went to this American pub, or Irish pub, and he was the bouncer, and I saw him from across the room, and it was New Year's Eve, so he was wearing a tie and a nice shirt, which that's the only time I've ever seen him wear a tie and a nice shirt, so it was very misleading. But I saw him from across the room, and I said to my girlfriends, that is the sexiest man I've ever seen. And so I make a beeline to him, and I was 19 in Rome, so I was of Roman drinking age, not like in the States. We have to wait till we're 21. I was buying that €1 cooking wine, so I was drinking that because I could keep it in my purse. So I was a bit tipsy, but that confidence that Tavernello instilled in me had me go straight, walk a beeline to him. Daniele is his name, and I asked him if we could have this table to sit at. And oh my god, the one thing I will never get used to are the steps. I probably shouldn't cuss.
This is Maggie's Piazza dei Nonni,
because
means
it's
the old people's square.
It's full of nonni. That's
Nonni,
why.
Yeah.
At all
Nonni.
times of the day.
It's the geriatric time of the day in the morning, isn't
yes.
it?
Well, at all times of day in Genzano it is. So we got this guy. Love it. And that used to be a school, but it's just been empty for years and years. That's kind of the theme in Genzano. Emptiness, what used to be.
Yeah, I think that's the same all over the Castelli Romani, because in the Dolce Vita, it was a really popular destination, wasn't it? And there was after Second World War II, there was this big economic boom in Italy. So I think, a lot of little towns are like this.
Yeah. But like Anita Ekberg lived here in Genzano. Who else? Anthony Quinn. Yeah, lots of random, not a lot, but a few of random famous people.
Yeah. So what do you like and what do you hate about life in Italy?
I love like what's left of La Dolce Vita, because I think that's kind of like what Italy is like, living off of the fumes of La Dolce Vita, like what was living the good life, living a slow life, living a non-stressful life. But now, because of everything, I hate the bureaucracy. I hate that, which is, everybody says. But specifically, I hate that it feels very hard to, to build something. Like, it feels very hard to excel in a way. Like, it feels very hard to set up a business, have a successful business, and have like government that wants you to succeed. It kind of feels like here everybody's just trying to survive.
So why do you think that is?
It's hard to pinpoint, because I think there's multiple things, right? Like, obviously it's the government, and that nothing really feels like nothing really changes. but also like on a smaller scale. So I was in America I left Genzano and then I went to America for a year and a half to find work. And then I came back here and I'm walking around and it's almost like half the town has for rent signs up. So all of like tons of shops that used to be alive and well, they're closed. And like you just will walk around and you'll see almost every other storefront, afitasi for rent. But I can't pinpoint exactly why, but it feels like what it feels like, which is not a fact, but it just feels like the people here aren't supported. Like, I don't know, Italy does feel like the redheaded stepchild of Europe, or like the forgotten child of Europe, kind of, because I mean, we can make a whole other video about the pandemic and what that was like living here during that time, which that was like the majority of my experience in Italy. I moved here in 2019 and then March 2020, the pandemic happened. And so I spent a lot of my time here locked in my house, and then also just being very limited.
So let's put things in order. So you met Daniele and you decided to move here to be with him, is that right?
Yeah, okay. So when I met Daniele in 2015, 2016, when I studied in Rome.
So you studied in Rome?
Yeah, so I was studying abroad in Rome for 3 months. I was in Rome for 89 days because this all-girls private Catholic school that I was going to, they didn't want to pay for our work visa or our student visas. They didn't want to mess with that. So I was here for 89 days, and I met Daniele like my 5th day in Rome.
Okay, so there's a 90-day limit, isn't there, without a visa?
Exactly.
Okay.
So as an American, you cannot be in Europe for more than 90 days. Italy, like, you can't just be in Italy for, 90 days and then go to France. No, you have to leave the entire Schengen European, continent and then be back in America for 90 days and then come back. So I was on quite limited time here, but I really did make the most out of it. Got myself an Italian boyfriend. And then after that, after my 89 days in Rome, and I went back to the States, Daniele and I kind of kept in contact. We'd write on Facebook, ciao, every once in a while, how are you? All that. But it wasn't until a year later where I decided to come back by myself to Italy on a spring break trip, just alone. I found a really cheap ticket. It was right after the Turkish airport bombing, so the tickets for the Istanbul airport were really cheap. So I got one of those tickets, flew into Rome, and I asked Daniele if I could stay with him for a week because I didn't want to pay for a hotel. So this was my spring break, Genzano. It was spring break Castelli Romani, and then that trip was when we really were like, okay, we got something good here. And then 2 months after that, I moved in with him for the summer. So then I spent the entire summer here. I called it my Italian immersion experience. During that time, I had no idea that there were any other English speakers or English people. I had no idea because I really was very much in Genzano. So then I really just fell in love with the town and just the small town life and Daniele, of course. Yeah, that too.
So were you looking for work or was that difficult? You didn't have a visa?
Yeah, so when I would come here and stay with Daniele for the summers, like while I was in university, I would come here and I kind of thought like, oh, maybe I can get a job. You have these ideas, and I honestly think it's from like the movies, like, oh, a girl moves to Italy and she gets a job in a bread shop or something for the summer. No, that doesn't happen. And especially in Genzano, people aren't really open to foreigners, I would say. Like, it's very much, like, even if you're not a Gensanese, like, even if you're not from Genzano, like, if you're from the town over, they're very, kind of look at you sideways. Right. So that was, definitely, I couldn't find a job here, but so that was just for the summers. But then when I graduated university in 2019, I moved here because I was like, I want to work in tourism and it'll be so easy for me to find a job at a hotel. I moved here with no work visa. I had reached out to a couple places, a couple like tourism places, no responses. And now looking back, hindsight, it's so funny how naive I was because I just thought I could move here, find a job at a hotel, and then they would give me a work visa. But no, it is actually the exact opposite. And when I did move here, I did find a job at a hotel. It was like the first week through some connections. Um, but then when I went there, they're like, "We'd love to hire you, but you need a work visa. Like, we can't hire you because you don't have a work visa." So then I learned that you have to, getting a work visa is very, very, very strenuous. You have to prove that you are more talented, you have special skills that anyone in the European Union doesn't have. And quite honestly, I do not have any special skills that is better than anybody in the European Union. And honestly, to me, looking back, that's probably the most American thing that, like, it was just very, quite simply put, it was just very American, like thinking I could just go to a place.
Quite cliche.
Yeah. All right, let's cross. From the mountains, ice cold mountain water.
The fountain of youth.
The fountain of youth in Genzano. And the breeze, a welcome breeze.
It's a little bit cooler up here than down in Rome.
Oh, for sure. You can feel the difference, like driving from Rome to Castelli. Buongiorno.
Buongiorno.
Okay, so this is a restaurant.
Sort of place you eat whatever they're offering.
Yeah, I think it's like someone's house, I think. They just put chairs out and like call it a restaurant.
Just the weekend.
Or an osteria. I think you have to reserve it first, and they'll open like just for you.
Private restaurant, can't be bad.
Yeah, I know. This is luxe. Genzano Vecchio is luxe. We have a little, I don't even know what I would call this. A vicolo strano.
Da fischiare, frolla, roghi doc. It's a winery.
Oh.
They sell local denomination wine by the looks of it.
Oh my God. I didn't know that.
That's quaint.
It's super cute.
I never knew this place existed until you showed me.
Then I have done my work as a official Genzano spokeswoman. And also, this is like a B&B or something? I don't know. Incanto sul Lago?
Yep. It's a holiday home.
Yeah.
Wow. So that's Nemi.
That's Nemi.
So what do you like so much about this lake?
At first glance, I loved the lake just for the pure beauty and tranquility. But then, you know, as you get more acquainted with people that know like the actual history of the area, the Temple of Diana, which is, you can't see it now. I actually tried to go yesterday and they have boarded up the fences, so you can't even go in. But there's the Temple of Diana from pre-Roman times, and it used to be huge. It used to like be all the way up this side of that corner of the lake. And so the ruins are still there, the Temple of Diana. But I also learned that Caligula would have these boat temples. So these like floating temples, but they would be for like sex parties. Like they were like hedonistic, I don't know, party boats. So that was super cool to learn. But yeah, they just say there's an energy about this lake. It's really mystical.
Didn't they used to do processions as well to come up like fertility rites and things?
Yes.
So it's really quite special to the Romans as well. I mean, it's not exactly just around the corner. It's a long walk.
Mm-hmm.
It'd probably take them 3 days to walk here or something. So yeah, they must have really believed that the waters had special powers.
Right.
And even today, I know the locals know less about the goddess Diana than some people abroad, I suppose.
Mm-hmm. There's like an underground following. There's still like an underground like remnants of people that worship Diana, because so there's this temple, and you know, you go to Rome, everything is all of the ruins are behind, bars, like behind fences. You can't go in. And same for that, but the people, the followers of Diana, present day, they ripped a hole in the fence to get to this, so they could access this temple because there's an altar there. People leave offerings on the altar in the temple, which is so beautiful, that this has carried on through all these years. I feel like it's a thing that's passed down through like storytelling, or Margaret Stenhouse wrote that brilliant book all about Diana, Lady of the Lake. That was I think it was the jail for the palace. We're right behind the palace. But this used to be like Che de Segreto. Nice. So this has a cisterna romana inside.
And it's actually for sale?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I want to buy it. Of course. Wouldn't this be cool to have a wine bar, like an aperitivo? Genzano does not have great aperitivo options, I'll say that. And I'm a very passionate aperitivo aficionado.
But do you think that is because there's no request for it? Do you think if one opened it would be successful? Or maybe they used to be in the shop like the other shops?
All good questions. I mean, what I've seen is that Genzano is a place for old people and babies. Like, it's a beautiful place if you're old or if you're a baby, because there's lots of, there's tons of schools here. There's some little parks. For the young people, there's not.
Well, old people have got their pensions, so
right.
I mean that makes it easy.
Totally.
So you went back to America to look for work.
Yes, it's the classic Italian immigration story.
I know you already have an apartment and you don't pay rent. So was it that difficult to make ends meet?
It was. We were at that point where if we didn't leave now, it probably would have gotten very difficult, because my husband, he was hustling. He was working in gyms, but then obviously when we left in 2022, the gyms still weren't open. Nobody was coming back to the gyms because of the pandemic. Then you pop out and it's oh, there's the Palazzo. Also where I got married.
You got married in the palace?
Yes, I did.
Well, that is an incentive to get married in Italy, isn't it?
Yeah, it was a city hall wedding, but you could choose to do it at the city hall down there or in the palace for just a couple extra euros, and that's what I did. So after all, I did get my dream princess wedding.
What did your parents think about you coming here?
Oh, they were scared. To be fair, I didn't really have a plan. I just thought I could, like I said, move here, find a hotel to work at, and then everything would be great because I speak English and I'm so unique. But in fact, that was not the case. You actually can't move here without a work visa, like I said. And someone told me, when you come to Italy, just expect to be underpaid. You will always be underpaid. And I found that true.
But wouldn't it be easier now that you're married? You're an Italian citizen, aren't you, now?
I'm a resident. Okay. So not a citizen, but yeah, it's easier to find a job. Yeah, once you get married, you're good. You can work, you can do everything, but this was before the pandemic and I still could not find work. It was just, I found work as an English teacher, which when I came here, I said, that's something I'll never do.
I did.
Yeah, I know.
I actually didn't ever teach
You English. Are a unicorn. After living here for 3 years and I couldn't find a job, and I even was working for free. I found some little tourism company and I just wanted experience. So I was working for them for free. That was before the pandemic, of course. And then I was teaching English, it's like a rite of passage, really. Everybody says they won't teach English except you, and they don't. You're the only person that's made it out without having to teach English. But yeah, it's we moved to America and really everybody was telling us, and this was in 2022, everybody was telling us, oh, move to America, there's so much opportunity. It's like exactly what happened to Italians like in the 1900s, you know, like during that great immigration. And so we moved to America because everybody, you know, my family and friends were telling me it'd be so easy to get a job. And then I moved to America and it really wasn't all that easy to get a job. Like I got a job, it was easy to get a job in a restaurant, you know? And so we moved there for a better life. And it was so difficult because yeah, it's like we have a house here in Genzano. We own an apartment, we own a car. In America, we went there and we didn't have a car, we didn't have a house. We were living in my parents' house for a bit for too long according to them. But yeah, and still even after a year and a half in America, I still want to come back here, quite honestly. But here you almost have to think like 5 years ahead, like, you know, the word lungimirante, like being like a long-term like thinker. Because when I was living in Italy without a job, it was great. I mean, I really had no responsibilities, and I was living like I was like a 23-year-old teenager, and it was fun. But at the end of the day, you know, you need a job to live.
Time goes quickly.
Yeah.
And before you know it, you're not employable, really, because
Exactly.
you've just gone past that age where
Right. Like the gap in your resume gets too big. And so, I mean, and then I moved to America and I just felt so bad about myself because I didn't have a job, or like I didn't have experience, you know, after graduating college and you're supposed to get that job.
So what's the plan now?
The plan? there is no plan, but it feels like we have one foot in America and one foot here, but like we're not going anywhere. It's very much, it feels like kind of our life is on hold because now we're going through the American green card process, which is not for the faint of heart. It is so much harder than it should be. Like they don't care that my husband and I are married. They just like they treat you like, I don't know, anyone else coming off the boat. And so he didn't have they didn't give him a work visa for over a year. So we just were waiting. I had to work.
In a restaurant.
I was working in a restaurant. I was working 3 jobs, Monday through Sunday, because you have to show the government, the American government, that you can provide for this foreign person that you've brought over. And so that was really tough on our marriage, really tough on me.
So when Daniele gets his green card, are you going to stay in America or are you moving back to Italy?
Time will tell. Daniele will say, like, let's see what happens with the Italian government. But I mean, he does see, after being out of Italy for so long and just seeing, like, in America, yeah, there's jobs, you can make money, but also the cost of living is higher. But also, there's nothing to do. Like, in Indiana where we're living, there's no beach. Like, we can literally see the sea from Genzano. It's a 30-minute drive. I was always optimistic. Like, I would never believe, like, how can you say there's no work in Italy? But, you know, after coming back here and just talking to people in the town, it kind of seems like everybody is kind of under this, like, blanket of oppression almost. But it's like a very subtle oppression. You know what I mean?
What does Daniele do? What's his profession? We haven't mentioned that.
Well, he's a mixed martial artist. So he does MMA and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And he's really, I mean, that is his niche. He has spent his whole life doing that craft. And so that's really what he wants to do. Ideally, he would open a gym. Even now that he's gone to America and learned how the taxes work there versus how the taxes worked here, I mean, he just won't shut up. He keeps talking about the taxes, like, to people here. So, I mean, for him, it looks better to open a gym in America. But for me, I don't know. I think he could have more success in America, unfortunately. Unfortunately for me, but fortunately for him. Because they're like his niche sport, there's a big community where we are that follow him, and they really respect him and respect his experience. But here it's kind of like so.
Tell me about this bakery you were saying.
So allegedly, this is the oldest wood burning oven in Italy and maybe Europe. Don't fact check me on that. But this is really, Genzano is famous for pane casareccia, like homemade bread, because they do it a special way in this wood burning oven. And honestly, for me, it's the best bread, definitely in Lazio, because it's salty. It's like a sourdough. So these photos on the wall right here are really good. They show you like these guys without their shirts on baking the bread, old style. Love it. Yeah, so good.
Which is what we love about Italy.
That's right.
But these places are closing down all over the place. So soon, people will be coming to Italy and getting their McDonald's,
Yep.
KFC.
Burger King. But Genzano's pretty lively. Like for a small town, there's so much movement. Like there's so much activity that happens. Let's see if it says the year. Where this was around from like 1870, this bar. So that's pretty cool. Genzano, I guess, is called Little Moscow because since the war, they've always had like a more communist vibe with their government. And you can kind of tell.
So would you say you've given up on the Italian dream?
Oh, you're gonna make me cry. No, I haven't given up, but I think I went from the Italian dream to the American nightmare, and now I think I need to find the happy medium. So I have to redefine the Italian dream, and I think for at least the time being, the Italian dream for me is going to be being here for a couple months if I can, and then going back to America, and then coming back here. So I think it's going to be half and half, one foot in America and 1 foot here, and just figuring it out.
Italy requires gladiator spirit. That's what I call